Hey guys, and welcome to TMH English program with me, Deletna Dawalko, as I'm here to present you another one of our youth advocacy programs and talks amongst the youth in Tigray diaspora community. I have two amazing guests with me here in studio. If you guys can introduce yourselves to our audience, that'd be great.
Sure. My name is Ma'aba Governmentin. I live in the tri-state New York City area, and I am one of the founders of Tigray Action Committee.
Awesome.
My name is Saba Desta. I am also from New York City. I'm a member of Tri-State Tagaru, which is a collective of Tagaru advocates from New York, Connecticut, and New Jersey.
Amazing. As our fight to get this genocide recognized, as our fight in this war continues up in the north from where we're from, we're out here in the diaspora doing what we can do to make sure our voices are heard and their voices are heard through us. You started Tigray Action Community when?
Tigray Action Committee. We started, no worries. We started on January of this year, 2021.
Okay. And
yeah.
What led you to begin it?
Well, when the genocide started on November 4th, my sister and I felt very, well, I'll speak for myself. I felt very helpless, depressed, really sad, very lonely. And at that time, it felt like the only thing we could do was be on Twitter or be on Instagram, talk to your friends, call. It was a really hard and lonely time. A lot of us were just trying to find each other because there's just so few Tagaru. Sure. We're very much a minority. And so for the first 3 months, we were just doing that, a lot of that. And then my sister, Hausen Governmentin, she was at this work function, and it was MLK Day. So this is in January, very early. And a woman was being recognized for the work that she had done about genocide and just humanitarian crises and all of that.
Globally?
Yeah, globally. Specifically for the Holocaust, but globally all around the world.
Okay.
And so my sister was really inspired and was like, oh my God, I have to call her now. I have to explain what's happening in Tigray. We are facing a genocide. Our people are being massacred. And so she found her number online randomly, called her, and she thought she was calling an office. It was actually the woman's cell phone. And so she left her voicemail. Yeah. So she left her voicemail, was like, hi, this is happening in Tigray and we would love your help. We'd love to talk to you about it and explain what's happening. So the woman heard the voicemail and started calling my sister right away. Left her 4 voicemails. And so my sister was like, okay, well, this is definitely happening. And so they finally had a full conversation. And my sister was like, okay, so she wants to have a meeting with us. I don't know what to do. And I was like, I know exactly what to do. So we need to have these people, this person, that person. And we had our first Zoom meeting. And we brought a bunch of Tagaru activists who were very, very vocal at the time and who also had experienced it personally. So it was just about maybe 5 of us and the woman in her group. And so they were a coalition against genocide throughout the world. And that was our first meeting. And after that, my sister and I spoke, and we were like, this is something we have to continue. We have to have these types of meetings with every group, as well as legislators, as well as anyone that is willing to listen to us. And so we founded it then, we registered then, we started all of the process. We are officially now a 501c3. We are official all the way through. And since then, we've met with legislators throughout the United States. We've met with anybody that's willing to listen. So we've done a lot of media, we've done a lot of government meetings. We are doing Twitter campaigns, online campaigns, anything that we can do, we will do.
Okay. And you've taken part in this committee as well. What have you done with
With Tigray Action Committee, that's 100% my sister here. So with Ma'aba, I'll say separately from that, which it just works, it complements each other, the ways that from Tri-State Tagaru, the individuals that are in that group, we help with whatever we can do, because we are a collective of now turned family members who are willing to assist in any matter. Again, Tigray Action Committee is completely my sister here. With like Mona Lisa, the idea came about from very beautiful minds, and now, again, what complements that is we go to the Brooklyn Bridge, for example, and we're plastering Brooklyn Bridge, where it's a heavy tourist location. And I recently was there, and I was telling Ma'abel that from the time myself and 2 others had gone and put them up on the poles in March, they're still there several months later. Yeah. So that's impact that's related to what TAC has done, what Tigray Action Committee has done, and how people outside of that are just like pushing their ideas.
Yeah, if I can say, Mona Lisa, what she's speaking about is a guerrilla style art that we started actually with just she and I talking about ways to do something. This was also very, very early on. We were in the process of organizing the March national protest in DC, here in New York. And so Saba and I and a couple of other people, Zuhair, Hiab, we're all discussing ways to maybe get something out there, some type of artwork that would catch fire, that would grab attention, that would have people who are not Tagaru stop and pay attention. Right. And so what Saba and the tri-state community has done is really amplify what TAC has been trying to do. So one of those ways is through Mona Lisa. It's based on what happened to Mona Lisa Abraha, our sister, who didn't deserve what happened to her. None of our sisters deserve what is happening to them. Sorry, it makes me really sad. Mona Lisa did not deserve that. She is a little girl. And so we wanted to make sure that her plight was heard, that her story was heard. And so we created a art piece that has Mona Lisa, the Italian one.
Yeah, I've seen it. It went viral on multiple social media platforms.
We've tried. And so it has a QR code. It says #MeToo as well as #Tigray Genocide. The QR code takes you to TAC. It takes you to our website. And it has a whole page specifically dedicated to Mona Lisa and her story. And so what they've done and what we did together is that we took it, we printed it, and we have stickers. We have it all over. And what we've done is just plaster entire New York City, the whole entire city, with the help of the tri-state group. And also throughout the world, a lot of people have just gone onto our website and downloaded it and done the same. So you'll find it everywhere.
What was the response to that?
It was intense. People have really, really responded in the way that I hoped they would. So it stopped a lot of Americans. It stopped a lot of Europeans. It stopped people who don't look like us, who don't operate the way that they do. And we have stickers, and so I'm handing them out at every single protest. I'm handing them out wherever we go. It was really effective, and it continues to be.
That's amazing. You briefly mentioned Tri-State Tagaru. Could you let the audience know what that is, what that entails, what you guys do under the umbrella of many other organizations as well?
Absolutely. So I was actually introduced to Tri-State Tagaru during the 100-day protest that we had in New York City. I had just moved to New York, and this genocide has just been heavy, and this has been extremely heavy, and I don't want to take away from like the depression that has been brought upon us as a community. So it was my very first time just out and about, and I ran into some friends originally from Seattle, Washington, and they're like, hey, there is this community of people, you should actually reach out to them. And initially it was more so like, okay, there's family that I can be a part of, somebody that knows, people who know what we're all going through.
Understand.
So I initially just thought it was, okay, there's somebody who could just hear me, understand me. Then it turned into brilliant minds, a collection of brilliant minds who are so determined in making sure that our voices are heard. And after the 100-day, we started to just do whatever it took, all the work. And even with Mona Lisa, like that was the first time I actually met Mabel in person, was to distribute, to plaster the city. And it was really important also in our initial conversations that we did honor our sister, and that's why that we chose that Mona Lisa rather than the individual who was subjected to this harm and this trauma. But yeah, with Tri-State Tagaru is a collective of very brilliant minds, and they're heavy in regards to TAC. There's a lot of them from TAC. OMNA, HPN. It is really just this melting pot of all these organizations. With this DC one-year protest that we just had, Tri-State Tagaru was also a helping hand in that as well.
For sure. Yeah. Tri-State Tagaru was actually started on Instagram. So the way that I was found, I guess, is that there's this Instagram page called Tagaru Link Up, and they were, I thought, very, very smart and like
extremely. And they provide you businesses that are Tagaru.
They're incredible. I'm a big fan. And so early on, they just had a bunch of states, and they said, if you're in the state, let us know. And so there was Jersey and New York, and I was like, I'm in both. Hey, find me. And they found me. Two of the admins for the tri-state, they just went on there and started asking everybody to join this group chat, and now it's become this.
Yeah, it's become something so beautiful and actually
It really has.
profound as well. What would you say you've learned about yourself since beginning TAC?
Wow, I've learned a lot about myself. I've changed a lot. Saba can contest to that. I have changed a lot. I feel like I'm a woman now. But yeah, so I've learned that I can actually make things happen. A lot of things happen. The Tri-State group calls me the exterminator because I make things happen. No, the executioner. Okay, executioner, because I make things happen. I execute. But yeah, so I've learned that you don't necessarily have to have the experience to make something happen. For instance, when we were meeting with government officials, we still do, and legislators, we hadn't done that before. I'm just, a regular girl. I'm a mom, doing regular things every single day. I'm not meeting with government officials in my everyday life. But because this is so important to me, I had to do anything that I could do, and we felt that meeting with legislators was the most effective way at the time. Since then, I'm not so sure that's necessarily the case because they haven't done what we would have expected them to or hoped they would have done. But that is something that I learned to do as I was going because, again, that's not who I am.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a regular. And so,
I mean, you really don't know what shoes you can fill until you're provided the opportunity to,
Absolutely.
You're not really aware of what you're capable of until you step foot. What about you? What do you feel like you've learned about yourself throughout your organization as well as just the past year and the difficulty of
I've learned that there are different positions that different people need to fill, and what's really important in regards to advocacy and what I'm hoping people like the diaspora will also learn is that there's no position that you can fill that is too small. And there's many things that may be like on a more visible scale, like more, like loud, and you'll see the faces, who they are, but there are people here whom you will never even know their name that are doing the work. And also it's just never too late to just jump in. What I learned about myself in the past year is the role that I feel as being extremely raw on my emotions and in my honesty and how this has impacted me. And I've had a lot of people just say thank you, just thank you for speaking out. With the UN, it was extremely exhausting to go every single day and to protest and then to see, like she said, people, our elected officials aren't moving fast enough. And so when you are doing that every day, and then the news comes out with another deeply concerned, you're like, what are we doing this for? But you take a step back and the movement is happening. So no scale is too small. So whatever we do, we do. And again, the emotions, I guess they need to just be expressed. And when the video, when the video came out with Demeka Mukonnen, I didn't realize that would be a thing because that just exploded out of me because there was so much pain there. And for people like Abitat Dema to actually come to me and cry and say thank you so much for that, it was, again, there's many.
It's something we all want to do. We want to do that. We want to yell at him. He's horrible. We want to yell at him. But I am thankful that you show so much openness and vulnerability because our people don't do that.
Ooh, the way I've cried this year.
I think we're all on that same boat. Yeah. What was your biggest challenge throughout this year?
My biggest challenge is kind of just moving past the depression because my family is back home, my parents are back home, and then kind of also feeling like there wasn't, at no point are we doing enough. An example that I can give is when we're,
You're good.
When we are organizing our protest in New York City, it ended. The very next day, we're on calls to organize the 1-year protest here in DC, and everybody just felt empty. When that ended, everyone felt empty. What do we do next? What purpose do we have next? And yeah, the work is being done, but not fast enough.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so that's kind of been a challenge.
It's moving past the depression. And what about you?
I'd have to agree. I think the mental health portion of this has been really hard for all of us. And so trying to stay hopeful has been really hard because, again, we've done a lot, you know, and it doesn't feel like enough. It never feels like enough. Not being able to speak to our families is really hard. I miss my dad a lot. I miss everything about Tigray every day. So that's been really tough to not be able to speak to everyone, especially since Mekelle was liberated. But yeah, I think the trying to stay hopeful has been hard, and the continuing our efforts even though feeling like they're not
being heard.
Yeah.
Completely understand. So you do have family back home?
Most of my family's back home.
How long has it been since you spoke to them?
Since Mekelle was liberated.
So back in June?
Yeah, since June 28th.
What about you?
It was almost about the same time until miraculously my mom called, and it was almost 6 months. But I haven't been able to hear from my dad because he's just not like in a physical position. She had to go to an office to make the call. It was 6 months,
right?
Pretty much, yeah.
I did see one of your tweets went viral as well, where you manifested that conversation with your mom.
Oh
my gosh, you have no idea. You have no idea.
I just said, you know,
power in that.
Something in my soul just knew that I was going to talk to them. I'm extremely connected to my parents. Like we're very close, and I just knew something in my soul. And this is 6 months. I just knew I was going to hear from them specifically. Like I've had cousins who have been able to leave Tigray or able to go to like the Red Cross office to make the call. I knew I was going to hear my mom's voice specifically, and she called me the next morning.
Yeah,
we talked about it all night that night.
Yeah,
the entire night. She kept saying, "My mom's gonna call. My mom's gonna call."
Mom.
It was.
This is the second time I'm hearing something like that. Another one of my friends had the same thing. We were just sitting down talking about it one day. She said it's been over 6 months since I spoke to my mom. And then literally the next morning at like 4 a.m. in the morning, she got a missed call.
It's God.
That is God, though. Absolutely is God. So what has been your best form of coping mechanism to surpass the depression? And at least, you know, go and fight the fight that you guys are fighting on a daily basis, because it's not an easy battle, healthy and mentally stable, but it's definitely a journey when you're physically just trying to be okay every day, but still have the voice to scream and, you know.
For sure. I think I'll give you my top three.
Okay.
So first, my kids, of course. Absolutely. My children. They rule my life. Number two would be my sisters. My sisters you guys have saved me. I have 2 blood sisters, but my sisters in
the community.
Yes, like my Tagaru sisterhood has really saved me. They have picked me up. They have spoken life into me. They have saved me in ways that I didn't know I needed. You guys have brought me back to life more than once. And then distraction would be the last. Which is why I go so hard for TAC, is because it helps me when I feel like, you know, I'm not doing enough. Do some more. Do something else. Do it a different way. I'm very obsessed with like data and analytics. Did this work? How did this work? Who did it work with? Where did it work? I like really dive into that. So the distraction really, really helps with that. But again, that's a coping mechanism and not necessarily something that's healthy, but we'll deal with that later.
Right. We gonna run until the gas is out.
Yeah.
We'll be worth it at the end, for sure. What about you? What was your best coping mechanism?
Oh, community. 100%. It is community. I'm in multiple group chats with just strictly Tagaros, and we are truly, genuinely just beautiful people. Like, just the way that we are even able to laugh in times of trauma, and our sisters, the way people have, like I said earlier, I came into this group extremely emotional, which I am not as a normal person. Example being in which how Mabel and I became close is in the group chat. I was like, I need to talk. Is anybody available? People are just sending me messages on the side. People I don't know. People I haven't met, you know, like never met in real life.
Right.
And I spoke to Mabel. She's one of the people, and we just chatted, and she's told me, thank you for your rawness. Like, your honesty is community. It's our sisterhoods. These are people I just, wow. There is absolutely no way that we would have made it through this
Without our community.
Agreed. Absolutely no way.
Absolutely agreed. How do you think the international community has responded to this war, to the genocide that has been imposed on our people, and just what do you feel like they've done or they could have done better?
They haven't responded strongly enough, in my opinion. Shockingly enough, I understand there's a lot of things that are happening worldwide, but for an entire ethnicity to be on the brink of extinction and for places to not have heard of it, it's shocking to me and disappointing to me because, you know, as a Black woman, I have done things for other communities that don't look like me, that don't understand my life or don't live the same way that I do. And so for others to not offer the same when my entire lineage could be just dissipated like that, is very like devastating and disappointing. And so I really wish that the international community would pay attention and would care instead of being concerned, would actually do something. I've never hated a word so much as concerned. It's just, it's become nothing to me at this point. It's not even water, like it's nothing, literally. It's just air, not even air. Air is important. So I really wish they would stop being concerned and actually take action.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you?
Exact same. It's been kind of, I want to say mind-boggling, but at the same time, like, it opens your eyes to the political aspect of it when we are on a human scale. We see the impact on a human scale, and our organizations and everyone who is fighting against this genocide is human forward. What we're seeing from the international community is, again, the deeply concerned on the basis of political interest. When we did the 1 year march here in DC, we were asked to go speak with a liaison of sorts at the State Department. And when everyone is saying what we need sanctions. We need them to acknowledge it, call it a genocide. We need them to take actions. Whatever this means, just save our families, whatever it takes. And the gentleman hears us, and immediately he's saying, well, we need for the stop to advancement on a military level, right? On a military scale and so forth, on both, you know, whatever.
On both sides, correct.
Yeah, but so it was extremely concerning that there was no actually hearing of our people are starving. That was just overlooked. So it's all a political game.
How do these conversations actually go? Like, what do they entail when you're in these government offices with these very high figures? How does the conversation go?
So I guess it depends on who you're meeting with. It can really vary depending on the person's empathy level or what their intentions are. And so we've had meetings where people have been very empathetic and sorry, you know, apologetic about what's happening. Because when we're talking about I'm talking about my grandmother. I'm talking about my grandmother in Tembian, who might be starving and I have no idea. Or my grandmother in Hausen, who I haven't been able to talk to not once during this entire year. I don't know how she's doing. I don't even know if she's alive.
Right.
And so when we explain that to them, some are very understanding and apologetic because they don't want, it's a grandmother, you know?
Absolutely.
And so others have been a little more, well, there's not very much we can do, which is incredibly disappointing. And when that's the case, I remind them, my father is a US citizen who is trapped in a war, who's under siege, he's being held hostage by a government of a country. And as a US representative, you have a right to protect him. And so it goes a little here and there depending on who you're speaking with, but it is very much important for us to explain what is happening to our family members and what is happening to all Tagaru. Every Tagaru is affected by this. There is not one Tigrayan in the world who has not been affected by Tigray genocide. And so that is really important for every legislator from every country to understand that. And I would love if our community members, Tagaru everywhere, went and had these meetings. Go, find a way, send an email, call, explain to them what's happening to your family as well as to mine and to Saba's and to yours. Because it's happening to all of us.
Not as their right. I think it's more of their duty to protect these people, especially your own citizens, let alone other people facing genocide. So I know you guys are watch TMH often.
Of course.
How do you feel about the coverage that TMH has provided for this genocide?
I'm honestly grateful. I'm grateful. TMH has become so important to our community on both sides, I'm sure. But from the diaspora side, it is one, I mean, now there's a little bit more media, but it was one of the only ones that was available to us and that we were able to see what was happening back home. A lot of the time we were looking through video and pictures to see if it was one of our family members, you know. In the early days, that was really, really, really hard. Because not to be able to talk to your family for more than 90 days and just to see images of thousands, tens of thousands of refugees going to Sudan, looking through those pictures to see, is that my dad? Is that my aunt? Like, who is this? You know, was horrifying. And then when TMH started to show us a little bit more, we got a glimmer of hope, like a small amount of hope that maybe they're okay. Maybe Michaela is okay, you know. If Michaela is okay, maybe Housen is okay, like, you know. So it did give us hope, and it continues to give us hope, and I'm really very grateful for TMH, and yeah, I'm really grateful.
Absolutely. How about you?
I think it's important because it's like this missing link that maybe we had before between like Tigray in itself and the diaspora. Like, I'll speak to myself. Like, I remember being in Shire watching TMH. I'm like, okay, TMH again. That's all we watched every single day. Now if I could go back, oh my. So it's, you know, even being in Tigray and knowing that it's, you know, it's being broadcasted there, and hopefully our families see that we are okay. Hopefully they know what we're doing here. And for us to know also what is happening in Tigray, because the mind, when the unknown is what is driving us crazy, the diaspora. Like, our families, whenever we are able to talk to them, they're always asking, how are you? You know, like,
we're crazy.
When I talked to my mom, she asked if my niece was in school. I was like, ma'am, we have bigger pressing issues, but they're more concerned about us. Absolutely. So it's this missing link between Tigray in itself and the diaspora that is saving us, that is giving us the educational part of it also, and to not have to look at videos on Twitter and wonder, is this my uncle, is this my mom, is this my dad? And so
speaking of Twitter and social media as a whole, I know you guys said that's how you were acquainted. What do you think social media has played, the impact that it's had on our advocacy, how information travels through continents? What do you feel like social media has done for you throughout your activism journey?
Sure. So social media has been really important. It was something that I was trying to avoid prior to November 4th, 2020, because it's addicting. It has its issues, we all know. But it has become so important. It is the only way that we're able to communicate with certain family members in certain parts of Ethiopia. It is the only way that we're able to get certain information. If it's not on TMH, we might possibly see it on Twitter. There's a possibility it would be on Instagram. And it's also been a way for us to connect with each other. Again, this is how Tri-State Group was started. It was founded through Instagram, through social media. So it's really, really important. But on the other side of it, it has also caused a lot of, I think, issues with our mental health, because a lot of fake news, a lot of trolls, a lot of our friends who were Habesha, who are not Tagaru, going and changing to like Dergi flags and such, is not necessarily something positive that we want to see, but it is on social media and it's in front of us, and so it's kind of hard to hide. But yeah, so it's been really important for us, and it's helped TAC grow. Had it not been for social media, we would not have done a lot of things that we were able to do. We were able to do lives with celebrities. We have been able to get celebrities to repost our stuff and share our information. And so a lot of that is because of social media. It has also allowed us to become really creative with creating content, with understanding target audiences and demographics. So it's been really useful, although it does have its harm.
Absolutely. And you mentioned speaking with celebrities, and I did see a video on TAC's main page with Erica Badu, if I'm not mistaken. What was the reception to that? Like, did that help your message grow? Big time.
That was very, very effective. That was maybe one of the most effective things we've done. We've done a lot of things. I think it's in the top 5 for sure. That live, while it was on live, was about maybe 6,000 viewers. But once she posted it, it had gotten over I think 700,000 views thus far. So that means 700,000 people who possibly didn't know about what was happening in Tigray now know. But we've done other things that have garnered that amount too. So we have a couple petitions, but our biggest petition was to sanction Ethiopia. I started that petition, I don't even know. Some months now, yeah. And that has garnered over 170,000 signatures. But on the back end, what people don't see is the data. And so the data from that shows me that it's garnered maybe at this point 600,000 views and shares. So those are, again, people who possibly didn't know about what was happening in Tigray who now know. And so when I was able to talk to my dad, one of the things that he told me was, first he said, what have you done for Tigray today? So every day that's on my mind. What have you done for Tigray today? What have you done for Tigray today? I wake up thinking about it. I go to sleep thinking about it. I think about the things that I did. Was that enough? And then the other thing that he told me was, as long as you tell one person, that person will tell the next, it'll tell the next, it'll tell the next, it'll continue. And that's how you spread information. And so knowing that these petitions, knowing that these lives and everything that we're able to do is getting these large amounts of people to understand what's happening in Tigray has made me feel a little bit better. And it's let me know that, you know, I am fulfilling what my dad has told me to do, to at least tell one person. So.
That's incredible. What do you feel like social media has done for you and the impact that it's had in our community?
Oh, I think Mabel said everything that needed to be said.
Sorry.
With social media, it has like infinite power to be like, it's widespread, right? Wide reach. Also in regards to that, what I personally feel that our biggest, there's a lot of work tech is doing, but what we see and what I see is that there's like this echo chamber, right? Like we're kind of talking to ourselves a lot of the time. So I can only tell another Tagada person, like another to, you know, like, so like this is, we all know the genocide is happening. So it really does take people who don't look like us to speak up, to go to their elected officials, to have conversations with their colleagues at school, whatever the case may be. So that's what social media also gives us. It gives us this range outside of us. Because really when we're at these protests, that's predominantly us. And then we get caught in this echo chamber.
I think that's a really good way to describe it, an echo chamber. It is talking amongst ourselves, and our way out is through social media to find that little creek where somebody else might hear, understand the story is through social media. I definitely agree with that.
For sure.
As you were saying, it does have its traumatic side to it. Even just seeing the videos of what has happened to our people and how viral it can go, like waking up and seeing those videos on a daily basis, it's very impactful, especially for our mental health. Who do you think, or who are the most vulnerable in Tigray right now?
Living in Tigray right now? Oh, geez. I'd imagine most of the population. I'd imagine the ones who had the least prior to this are the most likely the most vulnerable. Children, of course, women, of course, as we know what's happened to our sisters, and men. Everybody, I would assume, is on the same level at this point, but really the ones who had the least beforehand, for sure.
Absolutely. And what about you?
Of course, we're all vulnerable when we're under siege, but I know there's been a lot of advocacy for like the Irob and Konama because they are already such a small population, and that there's fear of them becoming extinct. Because I personally was startled by how low their numbers were to begin with, like 10 to 30,000 is, you know. So now because they are at the border with Eritrea. And the occupation that is continuing until this day, the heavy occupation. So I think they are probably one of the most vulnerable in regards to numbers. But hands down, it's all of us, everyone. Because really, when I was able to call back home, or when I was able to speak back home, they said there's no violence, but there is hunger. So, but what people are failing to understand is hunger is violence. So
the biggest form of
it is a form of violence. So when there is no food for quite literally an entire region, we're all vulnerable. Everyone is vulnerable.
Yeah, our families are being held hostage.
Yeah, they are. We're under siege.
Yeah.
What part of rebuilding Tigray do you want to and plan on being a part of?
Oh, all of it. I want to be part of all of it, everything. Let me in, whatever I can do.
Do you have any plans or goals set in mind at the moment?
Oh, I do. So with TAC, first I wanted to touch on something that Saba said earlier. With TAC, our mission is to burst that bubble, to burst the echo chamber. A lot of the things that we do is to get people to allies. We need more allies. We need more people to care about us that don't look like us, haven't experienced what we've experienced. So that's why we do what we do, like with the social media and everything. But with rebuilding, that's another one of our missions. We have a 3-point mission, and rebuilding is one of them. And so,
What are the 3 points?
girl, I don't remember all 3. I'm tired already. But rebuilding is one of them. Oh no, it's spreading awareness, rebuilding, and I'm trying to remember the second one. I'm gonna have to look at the site. It's on the website. But anyway, so rebuilding is one of them. And one of the ways that we have done that is through fundraising. We had our 5K. I think we were the first ones to do it back in May. And what we were able to do with that is actually send money to families who needed it the most. So instead of sending like money and food to Makala, what we did was we sent money. We provided food, we provided rent, we provided clothing, we provided just basic necessities for women who either were single mothers or for families who had no way to do that, to take care of themselves. And so that's where the funds went for that, for the 5K. Now we're in the midst of a new fundraiser for Giving Tuesday. And it's going really well. I'm really excited about it. But again, it's to do the exact same thing, to take care of the people who need it the most. We're waiting on Tigray to open up so that we can just give it to them right away. But yeah, free Tigray, as you see. But so we are doing our best to rebuild Tigray as slow as we can at the moment. But we are going to do all that we can. I'd love to help in any possible way. But once we are settled and everything is good, I'd love to really bring music to Tigray, like on a different level. I feel like that's kind of my connection to the world, and so I'd love for Tigray to become a destination like Lagos on the east, like, you know, something amazing like that. That's what I would love for Tigray to be. Again, that's my dream.
I think art is such a beautiful way to express so many different things, especially culture.
I agree.
So I love that. What about you?
I love it. In any capacity, because really when we're thinking about it, this is over a year now and we don't know exactly when we will be able to be in Tigray. It's so multi-level, so whether this is on a arts and cultural level or just mental health, because what we often don't speak about enough too is what they're experiencing and because their stress or their anxieties and so forth that will need to be addressed when we get there. But when Tigray opens, we just speak to them and ask them what they need of us. That's really all it is. What do you need of us? And we understand from a larger scale, like you're gonna need, you'll need funds. You'll need to rebuild Tigray again. What do you actually need of us, your children? So we can only wait until that day, and then we move from there.
Absolutely. I think mental health is extremely important, and there's some in our community that are not experiencing this just for the first time, like our generation is. It's a multi-dimensional mental health issue, I think. So what do you think we can learn from the other countries that have faced genocide prior to ours?
A lot, honestly. They're the only ones who understand. Early on, I was reaching out to a lot of my friends who are well known for whatever it is that they do in their industry. And one of them responded like, I have no idea. Nobody knows what to do in the midst of a genocide. And I was like, you are correct. This is not something you can prepare for in any way at all. You can't prepare for this. And so they would be the only ones to actually understand what we're experiencing. But again, every genocide has its marker. Every genocide is different from the next or the past. God willing, there will be no more after this. But they're the only ones to understand the level of depth, the level of desperation, our mental health issues. They're the ones to understand our loneliness, our longing, our suffering. They're the only ones who get it. But it's, again, hard to find them because they've faced genocide too. So their numbers are low just like ours. So it's a bit of, I'm not going to use bad words on this network. It's a tough position to be in.
A question to ask somebody that has faced a genocide before, what would you ask them? Or what would you want to know after it's ended?
After it's ended. How did they, after the genocide has ended for them, I'd like to know how their healing started and where they are in their healing process, because I don't feel like this is something that you can just heal from. This is so devastating. Even if every single one of our family members are okay and we are able to talk to them regularly from now on, what we have experienced, this type of trauma, is so devastating.
Absolutely.
So I would love to know like what level of healing they are in, how did they get there, what was the process, things like that.
What about you? If you had a question to ask, what would your question be?
It'd be the exact same, because this is multi-generational, and I don't think it's as easy as just moving past this point. And our our children's children will understand. What I feel I have learned about genocide from other countries is how long-lasting it is, which is extremely terrifying. The impact of the lack of or delayed action by the international community is terrifying. How multi-generational it's going to be is terrifying. So I there's no blueprint to genocide, so I wouldn't even know what to ask. Really, I really wouldn't. Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't think this is anything short of PTSD that's going to come after this is over. But what does winning this war and overcoming this genocide mean for us as people, as Tagaru, as diaspora Tagaru specifically? What does that mean for you? What will it mean for you?
God willing, it means a free Tigray. It means that we will never have to face this again. I don't think my family can face this again. I cannot face this again. This is not an enjoyable experience in any way. But it's something that I'm expecting. I expect for us to win. I expect for us to prevail. I expect for us to continue on, because that is what we do. We are Tagaru. We are strong. We don't give up. We continue. And we don't give in. That's not who we are as people. And we've never been that way. So I expect us to win. I expect us to win. But yeah, I hope it means a free Tigray, and I hope it means that we never have to experience this again, because 3 times is too much.
Yeah, too much. How about you?
A free Tigray, 100%. The only justification, or excuse me, the only justice for what we have experienced as a people in the past 300 something days now is a free Tigray. That is it. I'm hoping that we can be whole again one day, but like Mabel said, we cannot go through this again. This is it, and I have full faith. Now that I'm seeing how the diaspora, the Tagaru diaspora is mobilizing, woo, I'm like, oh, we got y'all.
Powerful minds.
Yeah, we got y'all.
Absolutely. If you had a message for the people in Tigray, what would that be?
For all the people of Tigray?
For all the people in Tigray and the rest of the world, honestly, but specifically for Tigray first.
For Tigray, for the people of Tigray, for Hizbi, I would let them know that we're continuing to. You guys don't give in, I don't give in. None of us will hear. We're not going to give up. Every day we're going to do something to make sure that the world is listening and hears us, that you are not forgotten, and that we're always with you. And that I'm so proud. I am so proud to be from Tigray. There is no other place in the world that I'd rather be from. This is the best nation, best future country to be from. I'm so proud to be from Tigray, and I'm so proud of our people. And if my dad is watching, I miss you and I love you. And I hope you are watching. I really hope he's watching.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
I hope he is.
Conversation.
Manifestation. Manifestation.
Yeah.
He's going to hear this.
Living proof of that.
Lord.
Absolutely.
That was a tearjerker.
Sorry. I miss my dad a lot. Yeah. And so when the first TMH interview I did, it was for the March protest, because we were organizing it. And I was very anxious and very nervous about it, because it was in Tigray, and I speak Tigray again. I don't speak Tigray on TMH. So I was very nervous, but I was able to talk to him, and he saw me. And so he was so proud, and him knowing that I was doing something on this side made him very proud. And so I always want him to be proud of me, and I really do hope he is able to watch TMH and that he sees this. Yeah, and my mom's side of the family also saw that interview, and they were upset that I did not say that I was from Tembia Naviadi. I am from Tembia Naviadi.
Say it right now.
They were upset that I didn't say Abraham Mandus is my uncle. He is my uncle. I am very proud of that fact. So I had to learn.
Absolutely. And what's your message to our viewers in Tigray, the people of Tigray?
Hizbi Tigray, Ajahum. Like, really, Ajahum, we are trying everything within our might, but we wake up every single day wanting to do more, because we understand what our people are capable of doing. Like, their fight is just, I didn't even have the full grasp and understanding of it, but I knew. So it's something that is within us. We are Tagaru. Ajahum, there's going to be, what is the saying? There's going to be a brighter day.
Okay,
my absolute favorite saying ever. And so, and I think of my parents all the time. Anytime I'm sad about anything, because I'm such a crybaby when it comes to them, Ajuhi Saba. So to my parents, to the people of Tigray, Ajahum, we will save you. You know, like we will see each other, we will dance. I will be in housing with you, I will be in Adi with you. Tambien will be there, you'll be in Shire.
Yes.
So to my parents, if you see this, I love you so much and I miss you.
Well, I want to wrap this up, but if you guys have a message to the rest of the world, to the international community specifically, to our government here in the States, if you had one last message that you want to leave off with so that they can really hear and understand the pain and the sorrow that we've faced throughout this genocide through the past year, what is that one lasting message that you want to leave off with?
Absolutely. So when we were having our meetings with legislators very, very early on in this year, we had our top 3 asks, and our number 1 ask was that this be labeled a genocide. It's time to call it a genocide. And so TAC has been pushing this forever, and it is time that the international community calls this a genocide. We understand that once this is officially labeled a genocide, it can no longer happen to us as a people again. The reason that the Holocaust and the Jewish community treats it so seriously is because they have been labeled as a genocide. The Holocaust has been labeled as a genocide, and so now there is no crime committed against a Jew that will not be looked at a little bit harder. And so Tigrayans, Tagaru, need to be treated exactly the same way. This is a genocide. Our people have been raped so that they can no longer have children who are Tigrayan. Our people are being forced starvation. There's a forced famine happening. That, again, is a part of genocide. Our people have lost their ID cards with their identification on it. They're not allowed to speak their language. They're not allowed to listen to Tigrinya music. They're not allowed to do anything that is Tagaru or Tigrayan. And so that is genocide. It is time the world label it that way. It is what it is, and they need to call it a genocide. Once that's done, this will no longer be seen as a war. It'll no longer be seen as a civil war between 2 warring groups. It will be seen as what it is, which is genocide, and it's time that the entire world come together and label it that way so that we can continue as an ethnicity. If we don't, I don't know what will be left of us and what will be left of Tigray. And so the world needs to come together and understand what's happened to us as genocide and label it as such.
Absolutely. Your message?
Exactly that. We call it a genocide, please.
Hashtag.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are actual people. There are people suffering on the ground, and it's amazing because there are multiple reports that are coming out about weaponized rape, weaponized hunger, lack of access to food, and even in Addis Ababa, like right now, or throughout the country, there are people, civilians, actual civilians going like neighbor to neighbor, house to house, arresting people based on their Tigrayan identity. That is so beyond comprehension, and this is, like Mabel said, this can never happen again. And what is happening? Like we're hearing of reports of 21 trucks full of people being rounded up and taken to Tekeza River, and we know what happened last time. And all these acts are taking place in the public eye, but we still aren't calling it a genocide. They're still not calling it a genocide, and this cannot happen to our people again at all.
So our lasting message from the both of you, as they said, is it's time to label this as it is, and it's time to call it a genocide. I am so grateful and thankful for having you guys in the studio with me. After every one of these conversations I have, my heart is so full, and I feel really good walking out the studio. So I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And I love what you said earlier. So what I'm going to leave our audience off with is exactly what Ma'abel said earlier. I really want this question to be a question you guys wake up with and go to sleep with on a daily basis. What have you done for Tigray today? Period. That's it. What have you done for Tigray today? Because that question holds so much weight, and the answer will have so much hopefulness and fruitfulness for our people back home as well. Thank you guys so much, and hope you guys enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Woo!